From the Mayor's office, I'm Rick Moore, along with Salem Mayor Kimberly Driscoll. Mayor Driscoll, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
How is everything?
Everything's great. It's almost October, which means the silly season begins in Salem.
And I can't wait to talk to you about that in a week or so
sure,
or two.
Absolutely.
But I want to start by asking you, it's been a while, I noticed on the Salem website and in the news and so on, sort of three themes, I think: anti-smoking, anti-speeding, and dare I say it, anti-business at the other end of Highland Avenue. I know that's painful. Maybe you could make a little comment on each of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So we never are short of activities happening in Salem, and a couple of new initiatives. One is an anti-speeding campaign. Talking to neighborhood groups throughout the last 6 to 9 months, we really heard a common theme with neighbors feeling like there was a lot of speeding going on in their neighborhoods, a lot of cut-through traffic and stop signs, and feeling like it was making their neighborhoods unsafe and wanting us to step up on enforcement. We do have a pretty good selective enforcement program, and when we've operated that, we found sometimes it's the neighbor down the street that's, the person that we're stopping for maybe driving a little excessively speed-wise high within their own neighborhood. So we're partnering with our neighborhood associations on a Go Fast, Get Fined campaign to try and help neighbors understand that their quality of life in their neighborhood is impacted by how fast cars go. Sometimes people don't even realize how fast they're speeding.
Now you have a lot of signs in your office out there?
Yeah, we've got signs out, the blue and white signs that say Go Fast, Get Fined, so hopefully that's a reminder to folks. We'd rather not give out any tickets, to be honest. You hate to stop somebody and ruin their day, and then they get a surcharge on their insurance. I mean, it's definitely a costly thing, but we do want to educate people that this is a quality of life issue. If you live in a neighborhood, if you have young kids, having speeding cars go by is something that impacts where you live, and asking people to slow down and having police doing some enforcement out and trying to remind folks about why it's important to drive the speed limit.
And you had a smoking, what did I read about that?
Yeah, so we have this grant that we've gotten to bring in what are called temporary smoking butt disposal doohickeys, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
What you find sometimes is when you have large events and people may be smoking in them, especially outdoor events, we find the butts on the ground. It's really, really disconcerting. If you've ever picked up litter, been involved in a community cleanup, how many small cigarette butts are in between bricks, in the curbstone? So we have these receptacles that we put out for large events, and it's a regional grant, so other communities in Beverly and in the North Shore that may have big events can use them as well. So there's a proper place to dispose of them. It also came with a grant for large water canteens. So rather than everybody having a big, a water bottle and they're so difficult to get rid of, now you can have a water canteen and just have, cups available to use and reuse that. So
now I know that you and Mayor Kennedy are trying to resolve the issue, so a little explanation on that.
So the issue you talked about, the anti-business issue, which I hope it's not viewed as anti-business, at the Lynn Salem line, we have a development activity for a new Lowe's home improvement store and a revamped Walmart. There's currently a Walmart on the site, and it's on Highland Avenue, Route 107, which is Salem's largest commercial roadway, but it's obviously caused some concern about traffic and drainage and site aesthetics from people who live next door in Lynn. And we're trying to work with Mayor Kennedy and officials in Lynn to identify what the major concerns are and develop ways to mitigate their concerns along with the development taking place. So I don't know if it's as much anti-business or just concerned about some of the impacts.
That was me just trying to be cute. What's the next process? What's the next step in the process?
Mayor Kennedy and I are sitting down. The project right now is going through a permitting process involving our planning board. There are independent peer reviews as part of that process that the city retains engineers to look at traffic, to look at drainage, and all the issues that have been identified. And we have a really good planning board, very professional, who will go through a lengthy permitting process. And this is a big store. It's a big project, so it demands that type of review. Mayor Kennedy and I are sitting down to really understand what are the priority issues in Lynn, because there are traffic issues. There's a 2-lane bridge, so eventually all the traffic along our roadway needs to get into 2 lanes, and how do we better manage that? There are some recommendations that have been made by the various traffic engineers. Lynn may have some recommendations. We want to try and build some consensus. I don't want to suggest to Lynn what the mitigation should be in their city, but I do want to understand what their top concerns are so we can do our best to address them.
All right. Anything else that we should know about?
Well, there's a lot going on in terms of just sort of the back-to-school season, and then obviously kicking off for October here in Salem. We're having a meeting next week to talk about the MBTA garage and next steps there. We've got a power plant study that'll get started as well to really look at short-term and long-term what's the next steps are for the power plant. So there's definitely more things for us to talk about later. But,
absolutely, and I want to talk about the Bazaar.
Bazaar. I'm glad you picked up on that.
Okay, always wanted to go to one. All right, thank you, Mayor. That's Mayor Kimberly Driscoll from Salem, from the Mayor's Office, I'm Rick Moore.